Oh yeah, sexy biscuits. Nice.
Long boys blues, 1975. A YouTuber's on the rise. Reviewing games late at night and sometimes friends used to bug. Long boys blues, 1975.
Hey YouTube, before we get to the main video, because I have watched it myself, and I didn't realise it was doing this, so just a quick introduction to say, I'm really sorry about the weird frigging zooming in and out thing it's doing. I don't know what it is, other than it's this Sony Xperia, and I'm just going to have to get another phone. So I am sorry about that, but I do hope you enjoy the video anyway. Hey YouTube, Longboys Post 1975, and welcome to another nostalgic memories of video. It's been absolutely ages since I've done one of these, and there's two reasons I want to talk about this topic, which I have talked about before, but granted that was probably 5 years ago. The other reason is it's absolutely pissing down outside, which reminds me of a lot of these holidays. And the other thing is, I went to the pub last night with a friend, and you know, you have crossover. It's like an episode of Seinfeld. You know, you have crossover groups of friends. There's one of his friends there who's not one of my friends. It's not to say I didn't like him, and there were groups of my friends there that they didn't know. You know, it's good to expand these groups. And his friend was considerably younger than me, and we were just like talking old school because he was talking to him and saying, "Hey, Dave's got a channel. He's into all kinds of stuff, retro and stuff like that, you know, maybe you should check it out." And I always, you know, when my friends know about it, that's cool, but I also, I don't know, I feel a bit uncomfortable when they promote and stuff like that. But for one reason or another, it got proper retro and stuff, and we were talking about holidays. Now, he is 22. Christ, I'm 20 years older than him. If that doesn't make you feel old, I don't know what does. And yeah, we were talking about holidays, and all he's ever known, you know, is his childhood holidays was going to, you know, Europe on package tours with his parents and stuff like that. And he found it absolutely amazing that for my generation, you know, a seaside holiday in a caravan, he was like, he almost found it comical. And he also, when he found out that we had no electricity and there was no toilets in the caravan, he was also somewhat like kind of shocked and disgusted and said, that's, you know, standards like that? You're paying for standards like that? And I was like, hell, we didn't just pay, we owned the caravan. And also I said to him, you can't judge holidays then or stuff that we started doing in the 70s by today's standards. Yes, we didn't have power. This doesn't mean we froze our ass off. We had gas and a fridge that ran on gas, but and we had an outside toilet, meaning there were shower blocks and toilets for the site to use. But you can't look at that now with today's mindset and today's vision and say, my God, that's archaic and absolutely disgusting, because that was just part and parcel relevant to the time. You know, we've moved on a lot then. To take modern mindset and judge shit like that then, shit like that when you got an outside toilet, no pun intended, it's not really something you can do. And also the other thing, because my mate was also like, well, and he's 35, so a bit younger than me, but he was like, well, I always went on package holidays, and like, let's be honest, Dave, coming back from going, you know, to a foreign country, it's got to be, you know, been a lot more rewarding experience. And I said, well, no, because you went on a package holiday. I'm not rubbishing that. I'm not saying everyone who went to Europe, you know, in the time of thereabouts when I was a child, just went there on these, you know, Lun Poly package holidays, or essentially, was it packaged booze, packaged food, and everything was essentially English. So instead of going to Spain on a package holiday and never leaving a site, if you will, you could have just gone to fucking Minehead for the same thing. Anyway, I said, so the difference between you and me is you drank tap water and came back with a brown ring. I came back with a wonderful, wonderful childhood of memories, because sometimes less is more, and having to make do or work your way around these things of no power or electricity and, you know, outside toilets, part and parcel make the experience of a holiday. Plus, it was the 70s, excuse me. I had the Jamaican chicken from McDonald's, and I can confirm that it is both tasty and delicious, and not an ingredient in it is from Jamaica. Anyway, so yeah, nostalgic memories of caravan holidays or seaside holidays as well, because when we were a kid, when we, collectively, my entire family was one kid simultaneously. When I was a kid, I should say, we went on seaside holidays to a caravan site in a little seaside, well no, it was not so much a town itself, at a place called Blue Anchor, which was between a place called Watchet and a place called Minehead. And yes, we had a lot on a caravan site. We didn't have a little tour van or anything like that. We had one of those big, I say big, it had 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, a lounge. I guess you had room to do these things because you had no toilet. The lounge had 2 beds you could make, and the kitchen table dropped down in the cushions. Mattress became a bed, which was convenient because there were 3 of us. It was about an hour and a half. Wait, shh, you're on the telly. Ish, that's my doggy. It's about an hour and a half away from where we live, Bristol, which is perfect because, you know, you got to remember when my parents had to entertain, probably another reason they never went, took us on package holidays was simply because 3 boys, mind, would have been bloody expensive. We did go abroad. Went abroad twice when I was a child. Both times we went to stay with my dad's brother in Boston. And they were great times, but they do not detract from the fact that my favourite childhood memories of holidays, period. And there was we had a chalet after this, in a place called Westwood Hill, which had power and plumbing. But my favourite holiday experiences and memories ever are of Blue Anchor Bay and that caravan. And it's funny because my parents would never take us out of school, for holidays, because they, lots of people did, and we all thought that's not fair. They get a week off school and they get their regular holidays. Maybe I want that. But my parents were like, no, you're not. We're not taking you out of school because it's school. That's what your summer holidays are for, and we want you to have the best education you can. And also, they would never take us there longer than a week because we all said, but maybe we want to go for 2 weeks. But they were like, no, because we know you. We're your parents. We know you. We know you will be bored. We would not be able to entertain you. And we're like, no, rubbish. We got the arcades. We got this. We got that. And they also said, and we don't have unlimited pockets. Do you know what? It was nice to have very serious and sensible parents. I often talk about how if I wanted something big for Christmas, like my Master System, they would insist that I saved up half of it. And these things were the same with their, telling us that we're not going for 2 weeks, we're going for a week. I just like that practical nature. I like to think this kind of installed into me the sensibilities and common sense, I should say, that I have now, if you can argue that, because if you see my Facebook page, all I like to do is cock around and take stupid pictures, but that's irrelevant. So yeah, this place was about an hour and a half, and yeah, it was, and we all got travel sick as kids. We put that little strip, remember that? Those little strips you put on the back of the car that goes from the bumper and just grazes the road it's supposed to take, is it the inertia out of the car or something? That didn't work. We used to suck ginger sweets, eat ginger biscuits, because that's supposed to stop you being travel sick, which is a bad idea to eat stuff, even if it's supposed to stop you being sick, because then you've got something in your stomach for when you are sick. And an hour and a half may not seem long in a car, but it is if you've got 3 kids who want to throw up. We tried the pills as well, but they never worked, and they just tasted nasty. It made me feel sick within myself. But it was a really, really big event, when we used to go to Blue Anchor Bay. That may sound silly to today's kids. If you're of my generation, I'm assuming this video probably makes a lot more sense. But yeah, it was a really, really big deal, knowing that we had a whole week away by the sea, arcades, parks, stuff like that, whole bunch of things to do. My dad had an outboard. He had, I don't want to say a rubber dinghy, because it was a proper boat. It was rubber, but had a wooden floor, and he had an outboard that he used to take down there for us. And we used to go out in the harbour, which is amazing, because you would never be able to do this now. And second of all, he couldn't swim. He had a life jacket, we all had life jackets, and we could swim, but he couldn't swim, which is even more amazing when you realise that that man was in the Merchant Navy for 10 years. Being able to swim, the days before health and safety in the Pussy Whip PC Brigade. You were able to join the Merchant Navy back in the day without being able to swim. That's crazy. Or maybe no one asked any questions. But yeah, we really look forward to it. It was a big event. We were excited all week in school. And we used to do this really stupid thing when I was a kid, because our mum used to buy us treats and things like that. Fun-sized Mars bars. Yeah, fun-sized Mars bars. I've just realised that I have a Mars bar that's in my grocery bag that I put in the freezer, and now it's in the freezer. Shit, should probably go and get that out after this video, shouldn't I? And sweets and stuff like that, refreshers, blackjacks. Do you remember those? The chocolate wardrobe. weird. And so we used to save them up all week. So I don't know, it felt like I don't know why we did it. Just made it part and parcel of the holiday. And then we jump in the car and we go down the road for an hour and a half. And this is, back then you had to do half the journey could only be done on the motorway. Then you had to come off the motorway and go through A roads and B roads. So if you got stuck, and because we're in the country at this point, you got stuck behind a tractor or a truck, you were fucked. And that would make you an hour and a half, because they would never pull over, and that would make you an hour and a half closer to 2.5 hours, at which point you could have flown to Europe. But I remember my dad had a B-Reg Mark 1 Ford Granada gear, and yeah, that was brilliant. And he used to do this stupid thing when we drove there, which is 50p, which was a lot of money back then. Oh God, I sound old. For the first person who could see the sea. And so we're all staring out the windows, even though we're an hour away from getting there. Like, absolutely stupid. And also, we're kids, so you'd think we would just remember its location, or the first place you could see the sea when you came around this coastal road up on like a cliff-ish top. I don't mean like actually on a cliff, obviously. But no, we didn't. Someone else different got it every time. We used to come in, go for a place called Watch It, pass a place called Dunster. And then come into Blue Anchor. But we used to go through Watch It, and this was something else that made the holiday amazing, because obviously we didn't want to have to worry about making food or cooking food or anything like that. I wish I had some pictures of this caravan. We would stop at a fish and chips place in Watch It. It was always in Watch It for some reason. I think it's because we passed through the town, to be perfectly honest. I mean, this one was good. And we would get fish and chips for everyone, and we'd get to the caravan. It would always be dark, because obviously we would have to leave in the evening. Even if it was summer, where it's light till late time, but it'd always be dark. We'd have to leave in the evening after my dad got back from work and stuff like that, pack the car up and all this and all that. Even though there obviously was stuff at the caravan, basically we took food, drinks, and clothes. Because I said there was no power, but there was a fridge. Because in those days, you could run a fridge off a gas bowl that was at the front of the caravan, in between that V thing that you tow with. Yeah, so we'd have our fish and chips, get back to the caravan, it'd be amazing, eat them and stuff like that, and then we would have to go to bed, and I think my parents would just unpack and stuff like that. Then you'd get up the next day, and it would be amazing, and it would be the first day of your holiday. I'm thinking traditionally this would have been sort of late June, early July, and then we'd have another one, depending on when the bank holiday was, which would be in August. And then we'd also go there for weekends, which sounds really, really weird, but an hour and a half now is absolutely nothing. Then maybe in old school cars, you'd be like, why would you go and drive, an hour and a half just to have 2.5 days? Well, it's your holiday home, isn't it? Maybe a caravan, but it's your holiday home. Anyway, the site was brilliant because it was off the main road, obviously, and it was concealed. There was a fence, stuff like that. It had a store, shop. It had no pool. It had shower blocks, it had no bar, no nothing like that. It was just chalets and caravans, which wasn't a problem because you come out the front and you're right there. Was the site was right on the sea, and the beach was awesome. It's a lot better now, but it was awesome. And there were obviously bars and amusements down this seafront. But where we got amused was one time my dad took a trailer, and he just, not our good bikes like our BMXs, our Strikers and Grifters. Who remembers those? He bought us 3 really dodgy, knackered, well, not knackered, it just weren't pretty to look at. They were pups to look at, bikes for us. And then that was amazing because you wouldn't really have to worry about traffic in this site. But there were roads everywhere because obviously people had to drive and then obviously drive onto the grass for their lot, and you would park in front, your caravan. There were touring caravans, there were big caravans like ours, all in the same boat though. The chalets had power and plumbing, obviously because they're buildings. But every single caravan didn't. But yeah, he bought us these 3 bikes, and we used to just ride. And then other kids, their parents got the same idea, because you'd always have these kids that you saw every year you went on holiday. So they were like your friends away from home. They were your friends, they were your best friends, but you only saw them like 4 or 5 times a year. But generally they were people who also owned, caravans, not rented there, owned them in this site. So we'd all be like some stupid little gang, like the Red Haddon gang. Who remembers that? Riding around this campsite. And in those days your parents trusted you, so we could leave it, we could go down the road. There was a train station which was open to the public because it was a historical one for Great Western Railway. We could go on the beach. This though is insane. We used to wait, and you hear people doing this now, and as an adult, and you hear that they've been rescued by the Coast Guard, and you think, you fucking morons. Yeah, I used to do it as a kid. we used to go out in our swimming trunks when the tide had gone out and see how far we could wade out into the mud. I know, we're fucking idiots. And we're like, you know, we're probably not stupid young here, we're probably 8 or something, to the point where it got up here and you could hardly walk. Now, as someone who, I don't know, wouldn't say has phobias as an adult, but I can remember feeling the stuff underneath the mud, which would have been the floor and the rocks and things like that, and shit move. I would have just panicked now, fall over face first and died. But we never got stuck, hence the fact that I'm still here. Come home, and then you had running water eventually, but this is it. I can remember when we first got there, you had to go to standpipes and fill up big fuck off carrying water bottles that could hold about, I don't know, 8 litres or something like that, and take them back to your caravan to make tea and drink and make squash out of and stuff like that. And that, to me, that is kind of mind-blowing. But we used to come back from wading out in the mud, yeah, and wash it all off under these standpipes, all this filth and crap into it, which, when you think about it, this is where people are getting their water from. I remember every day at lunchtime, after we'd have lunch, our parents, when we were particularly small, would walk us up to the store and we could pick an ice cream with a flake. Remember when you're really young and you can still remember putting your hands on top like that and looking over and what you want? It's like, do you even have to ask? Well, it's chocolate. It's always chocolate. Back in the days I used to like ice cream, but that was in itself, you know, kids now would be like, I want a fucking Xbox. Whereas I was like, I got an ice cream every day after dinner when we were on holiday. That fucking trumps your Xbox easily. Yeah, it's just little things like that. The fish and chips, the ice cream, you know, every day. Great, great memories that, you know, for what this place lacked. I mean, well, I guess, like I said, you didn't know any better, so that filled in the gaps. But yeah, it was just, I'm really waffling or waxing poetic nostalgia right now. But I mean, if you were in my boat, as in this is how you holidayed as a kid, obviously it's a British thing, I guess, more so than anything else. I'd love to know what you think. But now, this is where it got really, really, really cool. And if you watch any of my gameplay, why am I looking at the light and not at the camera? That would be why I've got a big purple splodge here. And also because I'm a retard. Was, yeah, these two places, Watch It was cool. We used to go there for day trips and night trips. Kind of really, really, still doing it. Big, like harbour, mini port harbour. It was a really, really old school little seaside village with narrow roads and you know, rivers running through it, even though it was on the sea and stuff. And fantastic, really quiet and scenic. And they had a couple of arcades there. And so what my parents used to do in the evening to kind of like, you know, because they were always really good at, you know, we had day trips and stuff like that, but they were always really good at, you know, going out their way to find us stuff to do and entertain us. So every night, my mum and dad would go to a pub, but it would always be a pub with a children's room, which places like this by the seaside, you know, had in abundance then, because why would you exclude kids when you're in a seaside town or a tourist destination, so 3/4 of your trade is seasonal? I mean, you'd be cutting your nose off to spite your face, wouldn't you? But so we used to pick a destination. We used to go to Dunster Pebble Beach, as we used to call it. We would go to the arcades in Minehead and stuff like that. All these local tourist destinations that had stuff you could do as a kid. Like there was this place, there was an old derelict folly that was open to the public, and you used to have to walk through woods and stuff, and it would take you about 45 minutes. It was little things like this. We'd have this little fun adventure in the evening. Again, you've got to remember, kids, at this point I'm like 8, 9, 10. At the utmost, maybe 11, 12. But yeah, these were fun things when you were a kid. These are absolutely amazing fun things. And so they, you know, they waste an hour and a half of their evening, you know, entertaining us with stuff like this, going to the arcades, finding these villages to go to, like Dunster Pebble Beach. There was the old market house. We're talking like, I don't know, medieval. Look it up. Dunster Market House, medieval. It's still there. I went there about 10 years ago and found the actual site where my caravan was, and it was gone, and it was quite sad because there was a power generator on tarmac in its place. And the reason the rain reminded me of was, more often than not, it pissed down. But that didn't ruin the holiday. I mean, I have loads of memories as a kid of the ground. When people say like, oh, it always rained back then, it always rained. Obviously the heat wave in the 70s. But I have really strong memories of looking at the ground and seeing yellow dead grass everywhere, and big cracks in the dry mud. So, you know, for every time it pissed down, it also, you know, it also was really, really, really sunny. And also when people say it always rains in England and it's cold all the time, that's a myth. People play on that stereotype. But yeah, remember, our dad bought us a little inflatable dinghy because Camp 1, which was we were on, and then you would go for a gap and a head. It's all the same site. Camp 2 was lower than everything else, so it absolutely tanked down for the entire week we were there. But we didn't bother going home because it's how we bought. You know, we're off work anyway and off school, and we took the time to drive it. We just find other stuff to do, and it flooded up to that. So my dad went and bought us a dinghy, which would be to preserve of sunny days in the sea, and we used to row around this caravan, and it was hilarious because you see people's caravans everywhere, and the steps up to them, they'd be standing there, or they'd have to have wellies to walk around, yeah. And so chalet, caravan, shower block, and there's the, you know, the fucking SS Wade with me and my brothers paddling like this through the middle of a field. But the thing is, it was fantastic. It was great. And something else I always remember, because the entire place, Watch It through Dunster, Minehead, Blue Anchor, was all on a rail line, but the rail line went through the entire, right at the end of the site, went across, but it was always steam trains. That's why it was a historical site. So it wasn't like it was bugging you, and it never went at night. It wasn't super noisy. But again, when you're really, really young, the trains going by is a big deal. You'd stop and run to get as close as you can as this really old school steam locomotive went by on the top like that, and you could just smell, you know, the soot and the shit coming out of it. That's one thing I've never forgotten whenever someone mentions Blue Ankle, Minehead, or it's on the news. I'm pointing over there because that's what the telly is as soon as someone mentions that, I can just smell, you know, those trains. It's not an entirely unpleasant smell, but yeah, like it's all part and parcel, just super fun. Now, we had no power, but we had a telly. How did you run a TV, you might ask? Simple, you ran it off a car battery, or you ran it off your car battery. But so it was black and white. I do remember watching the Wimbledon where Boris Becker won when he was a kid. Was he 15 or 16? I don't know. I can remember watching that really vividly in the front. So yeah, you would have your little TV there. You would have leads going out into under the bonnet of your car. But what my dad did was, because the Granada had a massive like engine bay, he had two batteries, so you never had to worry about running out or not being able to start your car. So you would drive around all day and charge one up, but then you would use the other one for the TV at night. Then the next day you would just swap the leads over, so you could keep going and stuff like that. Now everyone could do this, but everyone on the site had black and white TVs. But my old man was a bit, because he was a garage mechanic, he was always about, you know, like, no, I'm not selling for that, I'm going to sell for something else. So I don't know what it was or how he did it, because I was a kid, but he bought these leads with some sort of box in, which meant it would do something that would give you the grunt to power a colour TV. Now the funny thing is how much you could argue would actually need to watch it in colour. You know, you couldn't live without a colour TV when you're in your caravan home, holiday home, when you've only got 3 channels, because we only had 3 channels back then. It's kind of pointless. But yeah, he did that, and then we bought a portable 14-inch TV specifically to use in this caravan. We would take it home, obviously, every winter in case someone broke in. And the bikes would be left in the caravan, though, every winter. But yeah, so we could watch a colour TV, and people used to walk by and be like, he's got a colour TV, how's he ever done that? Yeah, so, you know, bragging rights and stuff like that. But, you know, like I said, and that TV became the TV we used for years and years and years and years. For it was our ZX Spectrum TV when we were kids as well. We used to have that on a black and white one originally, but when we got this for the caravan, it became our ZX Spectrum TV, and then we would bring it home every time. And also, we only got rid of this TV. I think the last thing I remember watching on it was a power cut in 2008, where we went and borrowed it, dug out a car battery, and set it up, because there was still an analog signal at this point, so we could watch the England football game in Euro. Oh, I wish I still had it though, because it still worked. It was Philips. Philips stuff was bulletproof, and I would still have a nice little CRT, because I got a CRT, but it's a tad too large, and it makes setting up my Amiga difficult, which is why you've never seen a gameplay on it. The fact that the Amiga was the size of a surfboard. But then the final thing I want to talk about, which you all know if you watch my gameplays, I said that a while back and never got to the point, was Minehead had the best arcades we'd ever seen in our life. The whole seafront was arcades. It's where I first played Star Wars Arcade, first played Gauntlet, you know, the hexagon. Who remembers the hexagonal pool table? Who remembers those? I would love one of those now. I'm not sure how you played it, just played it like pool. But yeah, there were so many arcades. There was arcades that were just full of those penny shuffle machines, claw machines, candy floss sellers, throwing balls at targets, and not really proper old school video games. And then there were just tons and tons of other ones, which are all gone now when I went back. Granted, that was 11 years ago. I woke up one day and just had a nostalgic urge to see what my old holiday camp was like. And yeah, it was. This is where I guess this is where my love of arcades and love of computers came from, because we played games here essentially before we had a ZX Spectrum. And I do remember eventually when I think they got powered just before we left and sold our Caravan. We even, in case it rained, took our ZX Spectrum, so it did rain. My dad could just plug it into the TV and just say, there you go, stop being fucking annoying, you got something to do. I'm off to the pub, which is where he would go after he took us out in the evenings. We'd all go to a pub with like a family room. Again, sorry I'm waffling. I'm getting so lost in nostalgia, I'm missing points. But yeah, these arcades, because this was, you know, seasonal stuff like that. I'm sure they were open in winter, their arcades. And mine had a pretty shit off beach as well. It's really nice now. It's cleaned up now. Type it into Google, Minehead Beach. Now, not then. But yeah, any arcade machine you could think of it. Paperboy, Return of the Jedi. I've got two nostalgic memories of the arcade videos on this channel, so I'm not going to go too much into the arcades because that will cross over with this. But the point being, all from a pint in the pub with a mate who couldn't get his head around going on holiday somewhere where you didn't have power. Initially, which I forgot to this video, didn't even have running water, and he had to walk. If you wanted to go for a piss or a dump in the middle of the night, you had to walk 100 yards, and just couldn't get his head around it. Thought it was archaic, and I say no, absolutely fantastic. If I could swap all of those holidays as a kid, still be the same age, and go to Europe, you know, and stuff like that. Nah. Maybe it's because I didn't know any better. But those Caravan holidays, maybe I'll talk about the chalet holidays we had after this. But those Caravan holidays were just hands down some of the best times I ever had as a kid. The fact that, you know, arcades was there made it even better, but it wasn't purely the arcades. It was a combination of both, but I still would have loved the fact that it was, you got to remember as a kid, leaving your house and going somewhere, albeit in a caravan, it's like a little exciting camping adventure. Anyway, I've bored the tits off you for too long, but if this is your sort of memories of your holidays as a kid, I would love to hear about them in the comment section. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you later.